Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, it is time for another Linux Mint release. This is going to be the Linux Mint 21 Cinnamon beta, but if history has itself, the finalized version is going to be out within a few days, maybe a few weeks, and it's going to pretty much not change because the Linux Mint team is very good about making the adjustments. We're going to go ahead and have a look at the installation process, and we are going to poke around at what the new features happen to be. So we're not going to spend a lot of time. Let's just head right on over to the desktop for the installation. So what we see here is the installation is the exact same thing. The only weirdness I had in the VirtualBox is it shoots up very small. You change the display size, and then once I launched the installer, it shrunk the screen size back down. That's obviously something you're only going to experience in a virtual machine, not something that we're actually going to experience going live. So here we're going to select our keyboard layouts and our language, choose if we want the multimedia setup running or not. And then what we're going to do from here is make our other adjustments. So I can install alongside. So if you wanted to install Linux Mint and keep Windows on a system, for example, you could install alongside, and it should say install alongside Windows. What that's going to do is partition out automatically your hard drive, keep everything the same, and then give you an extra option. There are some reasons I do not necessarily recommend that. I've covered that in other places. In this case, I'm just going to erase the disk and install Linux Mint. We do have the option to use LVM. So basically, it's going to dynamically partition based on the size space used. And then if you want, you can choose to encrypt it. This is going to be encrypted with LUX if you do those options. I'm just going to select none on those options and hit the install now. So as we can see here, there's really no changes to the installation. The installer on Linux Mint has not changed appreciably in a long time. We're going to pick our specific location and then go ahead and give your machine your username, your full name, and then a password. I'm going to enter my super secret password, which is definitely not 123. And you can choose to additionally encrypt your home folder. So, of course, full disk encryption and encrypting your home folder are two different options. We do have both of those options available to us here. So now it's going to take a little bit of time, depending on your computer. This could take 5 minutes. It could take 35 minutes, just depending on your system resources. So we're going to come back when this is done. That took about 5 minutes on my particular system, and we'll go ahead and hit our Restart Now button to restart our virtual machine. While this is rebooting, I'll come over here and just talk very briefly. Do you have any real push to jump to this right away? You don't. As long as you're on Linux Mint 20, any of the 20, 20, just 20, 20.1, 20.2, 20.3, these are all maintained until April 2025. And so you certainly have a few months before you have to jump on in and update these. So, did I say months? It's a few years. The new version is going to be maintained until April of 2027. The new version at 21 is based on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. For this reason, I'd probably not jump to it right away. Wait until a few of the bugs are worked out. There's invariably going to be a few little bugs on the first release. That generally happens, and the Ubuntu package base has been getting a little bit weaker over time as Ubuntu focuses on snaps, but the Linux Mint team takes snaps out of the system. Those are things to keep in mind. Now I'm looking at the password login, and we'll go ahead and get logged in, and it looks like it probably is not going to give us full screen right away. So I'm just going to go into our displays and fix our full screen settings on a virtual machine. Obviously, if you are doing this step on a full computer, you're not going to have to do that new step. All right, as always, we get a welcome screen with Linux Mint. You can show it at the startup or disable it. I'm going to go ahead and disable it, but we'll walk through our first steps. We have some nice highlight colors. These are nothing new here. You can choose between your light and your dark mode, however you prefer. You can go with your more traditional or your more modern look for your panel down here. I like the way the modern looks, but I like the way the traditional behaves. So I usually keep the modern look and just do modifications to the panel to make it work the way I want it to. I have those in a separate video, which that video is still valid. So I'll go ahead and include a link to that one. We do have system snapshots, which as of the last version, the snapshots they have moved them out of, I believe they moved them out of one spot and into another. No real big deal there. I think that they're now part of the update system. So you'll be able to do some snapshots from there. I can't remember exactly where they put them because I personally don't use the snapshots. Yeah, they are. They're right here, system snapshots. This is one of the first major changes we'll talk about. As of this version of Linux Mint, the Linux Mint team took over the maintainment of Timeshift. So Timeshift used to be done on a different application. They were going to stop doing the maintenance of it. And so Linux Mint said, hey, we'll take this over, and is now maintained as an XApp, which are the apps that are packaged inside of Linux Mint. This makes it that it's going to integrate a little bit better. We have a few more options, and it's going to be able to sync itself better with the Linux Mint system. So that was an awesome change. There's a snapshot not available. I don't really care about that. But here we can switch to a local mirror if we want to. There's nothing new about that, but for the new people, we'll go ahead and enter our password on switching to the local mirror. What this is going to do is we have two separate mirrors. The main one is going to be your Linux Mint packages, and the base is going to be the Ubuntu packages. So click on these. It's going to open up a window, and it's going to test the speed to a variety of different places where these packages are going to be downloaded from. Now, it is possible that one of them goes down for a period of time. And so if you get to the point where you're trying to update your system and it says, cache can't be updated or something, come into here and change your mirrors. It's likely there's just some weird snafu somewhere in the system. I'm going to go ahead and keep with the Linux Mint because that is the fastest, and hey, I'll just use the Linux Mint one. The base is the Ubuntu core that is underlying the Linux Mint system, so we're going to go ahead and see who gives us the fastest speed on those. I don't always wait until it's completely done measuring every single one of them. You can see down here, there's a few of them that are not working right now. This is actually the type of thing that occasionally one of them will not work, and that's why updates could fail. So we have a few different options here. Let's go with this one here. I tend to like universities over companies if I can. Let's go ahead and do that, and then it tells us that we want to update the cache. You can see what it's doing here. It's just downloading all of the different applications. So we're just going to wait for this guy to finish. So you can see we're a few lines deep. There's nothing new in this from the older versions of Linux Mint. Let's go ahead and jump on back. And really, there's nothing else in the welcome screen that is brand new. So any of the older videos about Linux Mint and the welcome screen are going to be valid at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. We'll close this out. The packages are done. And now you can see that it is ready for some updates. We're not going to go ahead and process updates right now. If this were your brand new system, you'd want to go ahead and install the updates. But I'm actually interested in what else is in the system changes. So the next big news about it is the Bluetooth. Now, this particular computer does not have Bluetooth, so we're going to get an error as it tries to load up anything here. That's perfectly expected because I don't have Bluetooth on this particular computer. But what they did basically is Blueberry used to be the Bluetooth manager that ran all of your Bluetooth devices. And the problem is that it was developed exclusively for GNOME, and GNOME is bringing Bluetooth out of that application and into its core system, which Linux Mint does not have. So they have replaced Blueberry with Blue Man. And there's the error that I was expecting to show up. That's perfectly okay because this computer does not have Bluetooth. So with Blue Man in here, Blue Man works with a variety of different desktop environments, so we'll get a little bit better functionality, and they claim that it works a lot better with Bluetooth devices, particularly things like headphones, which are becoming more popular. I personally did not have any issues with the older version either. I use very, very minimal Bluetooth devices. I did actually use a speaker with my Linux Mint laptop that runs Linux Mint 20.3, I believe. Either 20.2 or 20.3, and I had zero connection issues with the Bluetooth speaker. So in theory, that's going to work a little bit better. Not something I'm actually going to notice because, well, I don't look into these things. The next issue is there were some issues with Linux Mint and thumbnails. And with that, I don't have a real good way to test that right now. But the Linux Mint thumbnails should actually populate a little bit better. Who knows? Let's go ahead and plug in a USB drive here, and I will see if I can get some functionality working. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to do some changes here and see if I can share this drive. Okay. We're going to go ahead and share this one here. And we're going to see if this drive is actually able to find some of the things. So, of course, I do have a travel channel. This is actually a lot of the old raw footage from the travel channel, and I can tell you right now this thing is working way better for thumbnails. So they have actually added some thumbnail support. App images, EPUB, so ebooks, MP3 album covers, raw picture formats, and WebP files will now be populated in the thumbnails, and they should, in theory, populate a little bit better. Let's go ahead and create a folder of pictures and double check if it will work. So let's just go ahead and copy a bunch of pictures from Zion. That's what, 400 megabytes. Let's go ahead and do that. And you can see it's already populating thumbnails. This actually has been an issue for me, transferring files around. I'm finding that on my current system, I am sometimes having to wait for thumbnails, and oftentimes I have to double click and view every single picture separate because the thumbnails will not generate. And this actually looks like it's solving them. So this was literally an external hard drive, and it populated my thumbnails perfectly. Of course, if you would like to see more information about this channel, this is one of my travel channels. Thank you. You can find that over on youtube.com/TuxTraveler. And over on Tux Traveler on YouTube, I have a channel where you can see my van. You can see what I'm doing, where I'm going. Here I'm testing some solar kettles, solar ovens, doing some storage. We visit national parks. We do all sorts of fun stuff over here. So if you're interested in that, head on over to Tux Traveler. Well, anyway, I can confirm that the thumbnails are working. We have some videos populating well. This is an issue that I have had an issue with in the past. So I'm very happy to see that the thumbnails are actually going to work now. On to another function that I never use, maybe you do, is the sticky notes. Yay. Now, if basically all they've done with the sticky notes is if you want to duplicate a note, blah note, and you can, if you want to duplicate, where's the duplicate option at? I don't even know. I don't even use these things. Let's see, duplicate note. It should actually duplicate note to a different color. There might be a setting for that though here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So you can actually go through, and one of the options is when a sticky notes is told to pick a different color, it no longer goes randomly, but cycles through the individual color options. So if you're going to just tell it to change the color, there's this option somewhere for that. I don't know where it is. Like I said, I don't actually use the sticky note application, but as you change different notes and add different ones, yes, I want to remove that note, and yes, I want to remove that note. As you tell it to change colors, it will no longer go through and pick them randomly. It picks them in the color sequence. We now have a process monitor indicator, so if system snapshots are being done or anything else in the system is being done, you're going to see that. Maybe it might be a time to look at those updates. I don't know. But we're going to get a gear down there to indicate some changes. And most of the other changes that we have down here are actually going to be kind of under the hood, but they're under the hood things that are quite significant based on Cinnamon 5.4. Now, I may or may not notice a lot of these because, well, I run Cinnamon on our Endeavor OS computer as a daily driver for my media PC, which is already running Cinnamon 5.4. So I think that I'll probably not see and notice a lot of the changes there. But basically it has to do with two applications, or basically two processes which were working. One of those is Muffin, one of those is Mutter. And these were involved in a little bit of behind the scenes management on theming and other options. And they diverged from each other pretty much. And they ended up coming down and unifying these to basically work a lot more cohesively. And two major functions to this, the window manager and the various display settings. Well, in the past, some windows were managed by GTK theming, and some windows were managed by Metacity theming. And that caused slight differences, although for the most part it was okay. Now, everything in all of your window management is managed by GTK applications, with GTK4 being put in. Mint X and Mint Y themes have been rewritten to account for that. So we should see more cohesiveness throughout a variety of different applications. There's going to be one other major issue that you might notice, and that is if you come into the main menu and you right-click, you always used to have the add panel, add to desktop, remove from favorites, or add to favorites, depending if it's there, or uninstall. But we actually now have new options which are able to be managed from the application that are relevant to it. So if we right-click on Firefox in the main menu, we can right-click to open a new window or to open a new private window. HexChat gives us our open safe mode. Thunderbird gives us the ability to compose a message or access contacts directly. So basically, there's right-click context menus now inside of the main menu there. Yeah, let's go ahead and quit now. Thank you. So those are some of the things that we will see inside of our platform. As far as the base, the Linux Mint 21 will have security updates, as I said, until 2027, and everything until 2024 is going to be based on the Ubuntu 22.04 package base, making this a long-term supported LTS. Of course, let's go ahead and have a look at the last final thing, and that is Linux Mint always gives us wonderful new images. And so let's go ahead and have a look at some of these. Oh, that is beautiful. Look at that. That's cool. I want to drive my van on that road. Should we do a Tux Traveler video to wherever that road is? That'd be cool. Blue lines. A little boring to me. I think I drove there once. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. I talked to a photographer in Maine that was getting pictures that looked just like that. They were pretty cool. There's purple. Here's Greece. Makes me want a gyro or something. Singapore. That's pretty. Like these Greece, Singapore, India road. So they are keeping to form. They do have some very beautiful imagery in here. This is very common. Linux Mint always does a great job at those. Let's go back. I like that one's a pretty good one. And inside of our settings, everything else here is going to be pretty much the same. I think the only other major thing that has changed in this is they did make a change to the window animations. And I'm going to see where the animations are at. I believe they are under the window manager, if I remember correctly. Under Windows, maybe? Can't remember. There's some... effects, duh. They did make some changes to this. You used to be able to do some editing to the effects. We can't do this anymore, but they did shore these up so everything will work a lot better in the main systems. So there is our Linux Mint 21. As always, my recommendation is for a brand new distro as soon as it comes out, unless if I had a catastrophic hard drive failure, I'd probably start with this, except my next build is probably going to be a Linux Mint Debian edition. But I always say hold back, don't upgrade right away. Give it a few weeks at least to work on the bugs. Also, if your system is working just fine, it's probably okay to let your system just keep working fine for a while. As long as you're on a Linux Mint 20 or later, you are going to have security updates for the next several years, so there's no rush to jump right onto this. But if you are looking to come over to Linux Mint, I'm not seeing anything in this to say, hey, don't jump on this right away, because Linux Mint team does a really good job always of making sure everything is out. They don't have a solid, it's got to be out by this day. They wait until things are ready, and based on the beta feedback, I saw in this no errors, no problems, no issues, nothing in here that would prevent me from installing this on a system. But as I always recommend, I'm not going to say if you're running Linux Mint 20.3, don't push the upgrade to 21 right away. I'm not going to upgrade to 21 right away. I will probably wait for a few months at least before I do. But this is a solid distribution. I love particularly the changes in the thumbnails. That might actually drive me to update. Honestly, that one thing might drive me to update. Great to see they fixed that. And the fact that they fixed a lot of the cohesion behind the scenes is a great feature inside of this. So there is your Linux Mint 21. Again, this one was the beta, but I believe that maybe by the time you're watching this video in a couple of days, the main release is going to be out. And as the main release is going to be out, the beta and the main release almost never change. So that is certainly something to keep in mind. Well, thanks for watching this video here. You can head on over to the website at switchedtolinux.com if you want to get some ways to help support the channel. I know things are out of date over there. We're in the process right now of doing some website upgrades and bringing in some new life and some new ideas. But anyway, you can help support the channel on over there. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.